What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Canes Insight Daily Podcast, powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. My favorite day of the week. It's Wednesday. We got Mike Ryan. We got the newsbreaker, Peter Rees. A lot going on. I read a report on Cane Sport that Jay Lucas may be the new head coach of the Miami Hurricanes in the next few days. So that was breaking news, something that you might want to check out.
Big if true.
Big if true. We'll talk all about that. Do we hop in, Pete?
Yeah, we got to hop in the newsbreaker. Pete, hop in. Peter Rees. No one is more locked in on Miami Hurricanes men's basketball than Peter Rees in this market. He was all over this head coaching search. Those who follow Canes Insight know this. It had been the case for months. He was giving you every single name that was in the mix. And as it became clear that there was a leader in the clubhouse, Peter Rees kept it real with you. Solid reporting, expert journalism, haters be damned. Canes Insight gets the exclusive first report. Peter, a job well done. And I can see the haters are still hating.
It is what it is, man. You know, it's when we feel like putting the reporting hat on, we do it, right? It is what it is. Appreciate the kind words, and we're back to work.
You beat the competition up to a bloody pulp, all right? And they're walking around. I see zombies at the Watsco yesterday trying to touch wood, taking photos of the supposed new head coach. We'll see, agreement pending. The parties agreed days ago. There is just bad reporting being done right now, and it's by bad faith actors trying to save face who have been historically wrong throughout their history. Everyone knows who follows the Hurricanes where you go to get the best intel, the best insight, if you will. And it's this site, Canes Insight. Peter, bang up job. I'm so happy that you stood your ground, because these are longer in the tooth guys that very clearly feel threatened by a new buck in town getting all the scoops. So I'm really happy that you stood your ground and you had the right report. Look, we're a week into this now at this point. People could deny it all they want. There are no denials, Peter Rees. You scooped them.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, I don't even care for the credit. It's the fact that we were getting discredited, right? And
that's the part that bothers me too.
I don't even there's always going to be people who are not going to give us credit on the situation, which again, I really don't care for that. But like, if you're going to go out of your way to discredit our report about the situation and continue to go down that line, then you're going to just keep making yourself look a fool, Gary Furman. And yes, I said your name. We all know who we're talking about here. Look, to then also post on your board that how everything was handled was amateur hour. You have no clue about what went on behind, the entire situation. And this is just going to continue to be the case as it has been year after year. Everyone always points to the Gruden stuff. I don't even point to that, because you know what? Every reporter has a bad moment in their career. But what have you done in your career? What is the relevant reporting that you've done? That's my question to you, sir.
Yeah, Gary, you drew first blood and you called us amateur. And here's what I'll say. Peter might name names. I'm going to be a little classier with it. But what I think is amateur is you perpetuating an agenda from people that maybe feel a little bit burned because this got out in the public space. Control freaks that think that one of the worst kept secrets in coaching circles could be kept until the end of the season. Just a really sad look. So you go to your sources and you carry out an agenda because those people have a chapped ass. I'm not a fan of that. I'm also not a fan of people behind the scenes dragging my name through the mud just because they're upset. Let it be known that everything was done to act in concert with a hire that we are super pumped about. This is a great day for the University of Miami program. There is a really high ceiling when it comes to Jay Lucas. And look, do we carry water occasionally? Yes. Also, do we report most of what we know? Absolutely not. I can tell you, I report pretty much less than 1% of what it is that I know. Peter, same way. D-Money is as plugged in as anybody covering the Miami Hurricanes. We don't decide to be newsbreakers, but Pete had been so far ahead of the field, had reported on this for months on end with the best information out there. And it became apparent that this stuff was going to break because it was a poorly kept secret. And if it wasn't going to break down here locally, which it was, we got an inkling of that, it was certainly going to break up in North Carolina. Canes Insight decided, let the parties know this story is going to be published. It's just the insults of amateur hour afterwards. That really bugs me to no end, because you can get beat on a story and you can take it on the chin. You could say things that are absolutely true. Look, the Canes Insight report, D-Money, was not, hey, they have signed. The Canes Insight report was, he will be the next head coach at the University of Miami, which was 100% accurate. To act like it was inaccurate while you carry someone else's water, that's amateur hour.
I think the professional way to do it, honestly, is to dig deep and then before the game, make a tweet that says that the parties have agreed to agree after the game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably the professional, sensible, logical way to report a story like this, to report the agreement that they will agree at some future date, 2 days, 3 days after, someone else reported they had agreed, but he reported the agreement to agree. So in many respects, that is actually the bigger scoop, I think, if you really look at it.
Mm-hmm.
The agreement to agree is first reported by Kane Sport yesterday, right at the game. So
it's a great job.
So shout out to you guys. Pete, were you guys both touching wood yesterday?
No, Pete. Oh, who? Gary and Pete?
No. Well, I heard.
I can confirm reports that both Gary and Pete were touching wood yesterday.
Oh, so you were not touching wood?
I was not touching wood.
You were.
I was in the stands. I was in the stands. For whatever it is, and I've seen the message board. I am not the booster that Pete was getting this information from. Pete.
And by the way, let's clear the air, because I saw this on someone sent this to me from the other site there. Someone saying this was not anyone who had anything to do with the University of Miami, by the way, which is how this stuff goes, and look, I don't think we need to explain ourselves much further on this situation.
No, we got
Mike,
the dub.
But that's just what it is. I'm excited about this next era of Canes basketball, and I can't wait to see what a Cane Sports next scoop is. By the way, much respect to Mash Odell, the fastest typer in the world, and he's a good guy.
It's the insults that bother me. You can sit idly by, decide to not report. Look, you may have had the very same information and decided that you wanted to go about it a different way. I doubt it, because you went out of your way to say that the report was inaccurate. But it's the pot shots. You got your ass handed to you on the story, and you got to go ahead and call into question someone else's credibility when your credibility can't even look its own face in the mirror. So I'm not with that whatsoever. And it's bad ball. You should be embarrassed.
How was the Cabernet? I thought you were touching wood. You're texting the group chat that you're going to leave the game when your wife finishes her Cabernet. You did.
Yeah, there wasn't much reason. There wasn't much reason to stick around for that. I wanted to get out there. It was a lot of VIPs in that crowd. I wanted to see a future number one pick, or at least a consensus number one pick. I wanted to see what the University of Miami men's basketball team had to work with. Not a lot of reason to get excited over there. I will say, who's ever running that defense for Duke seems to be quite the talent, because Miami was terrified to take the ball inside, with good reason, because damn near every time they took the ball inside, that ball ended up in the stands. It was very clear that there was a talent discrepancy. And look, this is a bastardized version of what Miami hoped to have this season. I'm not just saying the performance of the players on the court. I'm talking about the individuals that are not on the court. Nigel Pack, I don't know what he's doing, probably trying to get a 17th year of eligibility, trying to get someone else to pay for it. Matt Cleveland, where are you? What are we doing? I understand we're trying to give the young kids a look, and Bethea was trying to do his best to take every opportunity, it seemed, but that was not a good basketball team last night. And if you were looking for any kind of sign of hope from anyone that was on the floor, Pete, you know ball way better than I. D, I'd venture to say you know ball better than I. I have zero reason for hope on this roster.
I like Divine. Do you like Divine, Pete? I thought he
yeah, I like Divine. I think you do see in a game against a team like Duke that's just they're big across the board, and he's still a limited outside shooter to this point, that there are limitations to his game. I think he can be a really good player against most of the ACC, but we're talking about getting this team back to where they were a couple years ago, which is you're in the Final Four there, and you were obviously overmatched against a UConn, right? We're very, very far away from that. But like, I think he's a good building block, but I think there's still room to grow for him.
Yeah, listen, it's going to be fun off season because you're talking about a guy. It's like we got 2 recruiters, right? So will that lead to success on the field, to be determined, or on the court in this case? But off season is going to be cooking.
Oh, yeah.
CanesInsight.com, 7 million posts and counting basketball boards about to be heating up with a lot of rumors, innuendo, portal guys, freshmen on the radar, high school kids on the radar. It's going to be a lot of fun, man.
And now
best off seasons in the game.
And Canes Insight can certifiably say they have the best information guy when it comes to this specific beat, covering the Miami Hurricanes, and Peter Ruiz. And I am not mincing words. He kicked everybody's ass on this story. And I would really appreciate it if people stop taking their pot shots just because they don't like the cut of his jib. I like the cut of your jib, Pete. I think your jib is just fine. I fancy your jib.
Do we ever find out what that means, like the jib thing? Do you know where that word originates from? My computer's out, so I can't look up esoteric facts on my computer. So I got to rely on
Suffice to say, I fancy your jib.
This is huge news.
What's up?
This is massive. We might have to do a group chat show after this, but this is relevant for us to talk about here. Oklahoma has hired Senior Bowl executive director and former NFL scout Jim Nagy as its new GM.
Your boy.
Yeah, that's a crazy hire.
Yeah, I thought he'd go NFL. Don't they get? I guess they're paying $1 million now. It's probably more than he gets paid for the Senior Bowl.
They're probably paying him a couple mil, man. I would say he's probably getting paid well, but that's pretty massive news here.
It's only a matter of time before the pipeline is established for college athletics general managers specific to programs. I know that there are some programs that have a sweeping athletics general manager and then more specific to the sport. Oklahoma is certainly the type of program that will focus individually. It hasn't, no one's really charted a course for that path, GM in college to GM in the NFL, but it'll be interesting to see as this amateur sport becomes more and more professional, who's going to break that mold. And I imagine this is the start of a trend. People that have aspirations of being executives in the NFL really taking that job at a lower level, which is essentially semi-pro football. It's actually pro football now when you consider the money attached to the sport. I think this is a smart move, and you're going to see more of it.
I mean, I saw Mike Lombardi's making $1.5 million. That just came out from the North Carolina, which, I mean, I'm not sure teams were lining up to pay him, $1.5 million. So that was kind of a shocking number. But that was
the amount of scouting contacts that guy has is insane, though. That's a pretty big hire, man.
No, Nagy, I get. Yeah. I mean, this guy was
this one. Yeah,
I was surprised he didn't go to the NFL level.
He has NFL contacts, right? And he has good relationships with guys that go through the Senior Bowl, but those are guys that are out of eligibility. How do those contacts help you at Oklahoma?
Well, because if he has all his NFL contacts, this is why I was going to say I think college is better for him. If he goes to the NFL, yes, he has college contacts, but when he scouts the college guys, it's because the NFL scouts and NFL people are telling him, go look, we want to see this kid. It's not because he himself, he does have his own team of scouts, but when he's at Oklahoma now, he can call the NFL scouts and say, tell me where the best guys are in the country, and then go get them. Yeah. It's different than he's not going to get any help if he's in the NFL. Those are his contacts already.
And as we talk it out, he's got great relationships inside the NFL. So that could be part of recruiting pitches to high caliber blue chip recruits that he brings in. Hey, I can help get you to the next level. I have these relationships. I will make sure they have the very best tape, the very best information. No one's going to have as good of a relationship in the college level as good as I do, outside of certain head coaches that are, legacy names. But it's an inspired hire. I like it.
Here's what's weird to me is, so Oklahoma gets Arbuckle, who's a hot name, the offensive coordinator for Washington State, ends up going to Oklahoma, takes Mateer with him, worked out fine for the Canes, but obviously Mateer was a hot commodity in the portal.
Great player. And
now you got Nagy jumping to Oklahoma. I mean, Oklahoma kind of sucks right now, and their coach is somewhat of I don't say a lame duck, but he's in the lame duck, range.
It's a make or break year for Venables, no doubt.
So a lot of people could fall. Because if he has a bad year, they have a tough schedule. I don't think their portal was really that good, to be honest with you, aside from Mateer. Their offensive line sucked last year. Their receivers are horrendous.
Well, we don't know what kind of promises were made to this hire. This could actually be an opportunity. Like, you're not on the hook for this.
Right. You're the coach. You're the GM no matter what.
It's like a new coach taking over a team with a quarterback that's kind of on the line. You always can hang your hat on, well, I could just blow the quarterback out. I'm not tethered to this person. So it might actually be advantageous. You accrue a lot of power and you actually have a lot of influence on the potential next hire.
Yeah, that's a good point he very good point because he talks to college coaches every day. So that is the other part of it that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, a good hire and yet more evidence of the giant sea change that has occurred in college athletics. But let's bring it back to...
Wait, hold on. I got my computer back, so I'm trying to find out what's going on with cut of your jib. It's an informal expression that refers to a person's appearance or general demeanor. So I knew that. Okay, so let's see. Oh, here. In the 18th century, the shape of a ship's jib sail could be used to identify the ship's nationality. This was useful because the national flag was not always available or always visible from a distance. So, for example, French jibs were cut differently from English jibs, which allowed ships to be identified from afar. So,
what nationality is your jib?
A lot of people have misidentified Pete as Lebanese, Saudi Arabian, based on some of his recent.
Misidentified.
I am. My heart's in Saudi Arabia.
Charter member of the Saudi chat, which I find myself in.
You come in just to judge people.
Yes, that's right. Fight from the inside. He was
an original member, though.
I was a charter member, which is more than I can say for you. I do want to switch gears as we focus on the bridge between the college ranks and the pros. It's a huge week for Cam Ward. He doesn't have to do anything on the field for that to be the case, but it's combine week over in Indianapolis. All the executives are over there. I'm getting a lot of good tea right now from some friends that are over in the combine. If you saw the Landry news out of Tennessee, that actually increases the probability, I think, in my opinion, from people that I've spoken to about Abdul Carter going number 1 to Tennessee. I think right now, if I had to handicap it, Cam Ward is slotted at number 2 to Cleveland. I know that's not a great spot for you. It might be an interesting spot for some in our audience. But Cam Ward, if you have faith in him being a culture changer, I don't think we can really make that disgusted noise. I think that Cleveland isn't a bad situation, by the way, for Cam Ward. It's a good coaching staff. He's got an all-pro, not an all-pro, but a Pro Bowl wide receiver in Jerry Jeudy. He's got some weapons over there. He's got a coach that is a former coach of the year in Stefanski. We'll see what happens with Myles Garrett, but there are worse places for Cam Ward to go to.
Njoku?
I actually think that Tennessee is like a worse place for Cam Ward to go to than Cleveland. I know we're worried about the weather, the division, no doubt. But if Cam Ward is who we believe him to be, all that stuff shouldn't matter as much. I think in terms of supporting cast, you look at the teams picking around the top. If I'm evaluating everything in a vacuum, I think Cleveland's a pretty good spot for him.
Have they had a good quarterback since Bill Belichick ran Bernie Kosar out of town and turned a perennial winning franchise into a loser franchise?
I would say they had 2 good Baker years.
2 good Baker years. And obviously he flourished more outside there than there. So I don't know. I don't love the fit. What I would wonder is, let me ask you, you're a former Cleveland fan. Maybe you're flirting with coming back.
I'm in recovery.
We'll see. I mean, who knows? You might relapse here with Ward.
Potentially.
So if they go Abdul Carter number 1, let's say it differently.
Special player, by the way.
Let's say Cam Ward is off the board at number 1.
Okay.
Is Cleveland going to take Abdul Carter and then trade Garrett, or would they go somewhere else? Would they go like a Travis Hunter?
Well, Andrew Berry is doubled, tripled, quadrupled down on them not wanting to trade Myles Garrett. Now, Myles Garrett wants to be traded. I think the people of Cleveland kind of support Myles and understand. However, that is a very tricky contract to move. He has deferred so much money. You're talking about absorbing something in the mid-30s. As great as he is, and he is still great, that's a very difficult piece to move. I think if you're Andrew Berry and the Cleveland Browns, what you try your best to do is mend fences and understand that this is a near impossible deal. Now, it's nearly an impossible deal because he deferred a lot of that money to make room for the quarterback that they probably won't have on the field ever again for them. I think Deshaun Watson, I think it's safe to say, it's a safe bet that Deshaun Watson's playing days in Cleveland are through.
Right.
It'd be a shock if he ever put on that uniform ever again. We've been here before. There have been players. Look, it's happening right now with Tyreek Hill, who's already mended fences. down here. The reality of the situation is it's very difficult to move you. And you've been a great soldier for our franchise, but we can't absorb this kind of cap hit and not get anything in return, especially when we're dealing with the Deshaun Watson thing. I want to focus, though, on what's there for Cam Ward in terms of Jerry Jeudy, in terms of David Njoku. We know that they can design a running game. Nick Chubb probably never going to be the same. Was effective in moments, but that running game is a proven concept.
Bad weather.
That's going to be interesting to see.
But not for living, for playing.
But look, this guy played at Wazoo. That's plenty of bad weather. It's cold, rainy, windy.
A lot of fumbles.
But also as we discussed, a lot of those fumbles were him trying to cheat and read the defense until the very last second because his offensive line was so bad. Cleveland has a lot of money invested in that offensive line. If you look around the league, I think in their upper quartile in terms of money spent on an offensive line. Judy's ascending, and Njoku's a hell of a weapon. You have the Miami connection there. You have a proven staff. I think that what is the better spot for Cam Ward inside that top 5? I'm hard pressed because I don't think it's Tennessee.
What I would like to see, obviously I want to go number 1 because it's good for the brand. I'm sure he wants to as well. I know New York Giants love Cam Ward. Mm-hmm. Jesse Armstead, high-ranking official in the New York Giants. He's a former Cane. He was down here to scout during the season. Obviously, the whole you saw the GM. What's the guy's name from Hard Knocks? The young guy. He was at
Shine.
He was at the Pop-Tarts Bowl. So one thing I could see is if Tennessee feels comfortable with Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, why not trade down with the Giants, flip, get some picks, build up your war chest, which they need a lot. I mean, they suck. Yeah. And then New York Giants pick first. New York Giants pick Cam Ward. They got Malik Neighbors. They drafted a bunch of offensive linemen. They can get some guys in free agency, and now you're starting to build something to last.
Makes a lot of sense. The feeling that I have in talking to some people that are way more plugged in than I am is they doubt that Tennessee actually has the guts to do this, and I would really read into the Landry news, giving Landry, their top pass rusher, permission to seek a trade. It's always weird to me that teams decide, once they decide on a direction that may be perceived as a strength, they decide, well, let's dilute that strength somehow and get rid of our top pass rusher because we're bringing a cheaper contract in the number 1 pick. It's weird. Why not have both and make that an absolute strength, especially since you have so many questions surrounding the other side of the ball? But that is a pretty big smoke signal that Abdul Carter is going number 1. From people that I respect, that have crunched the tape and the scouting, the general consensus is that Cam Ward is certainly the best quarterback here, but he's not the best player available. And that's fair. Yeah, Abdul Carter, we saw what he did with one arm in that Orange Bowl. He was undeniable that entire game. He really flashed, and Travis Hunter is a unicorn. I think that 2 is probably going to be the spot for him. I really find it hard to believe that Tennessee is going to pass up Abdul Carter. We'll see.
Potentially get him at number 3. About Cleveland, and if I'm keeping Myles Garrett, I'd take Travis Hunter.
Well, keeping Myles Garrett, do they do the same thing? Okay, well, at least we have our replacement plan in place now for Abdul Carter, for Myles Garrett.
Travis Hunter's a pretty good player too. Now
he's a tremendous player, and Andrew Berry has showered Travis Hunter with praise. He's one of the few people to put his name to. We like this guy as a receiver primarily. It's cool that he can do both. I know in the division that's the general notion. Some teams still have him as both. Tennessee's kind of been shy about where they rate him, but I think throughout this evaluation process, and I'd like to bring Pete back in here because you have some agent chops. It's tough. Potential generational quarterback, we know how important that is, but a quarterback that you yourself have had questions about. Travis Hunter, can his body hold up? Can he potentially play both sides of the ball? Is he worth it if he's just playing one side of the ball? And Abdul Carter, who is basically built in a lab in terms of prototypical pass rusher. This is not an easy decision for Tennessee at number 1.
No, and Cam, this is a big week. I'm very interested to see if he throws or not. Based on what I've been told, I don't think that teams are 100% certain if he's throwing or not. I don't know if, Mike, you have other info.
Would you advise him to throw? He's got a great arm.
I would probably say so. That me personally, I would say I don't think he would need it at this point.
Shedeur,
you've seen everything. Well, Shedor's not. Shedeur is not. So I was texting a scout about it this morning, and I asked him if he knew if Cam was throwing. He said they don't know yet, and I said I'm not sure why he would. Just let the tape speak for itself. He said, "Did Mahomes throw?" ? If he throws, he cements that he's by far the best quarterback in this class. So obviously, is it necessary? No. But with the fact that Shedeur has already said he's not throwing here, I think this is a potential opportunity for Cam to make a statement. And even if it's not going to be the Titans, to potentially put something in play with what D just said.
Well,
but it's a big chance for him. Let's see if he does it.
But is he not already solidified as the best quarterback in this class? Like, Shedeur is not throwing for reasons, because Shedeur has one of the weaker arms. If he were to step into the NFL right now, he'd be a bottom third easily quarterback in terms of arm strength.
And he'd stand out against the people he's throwing with. So it's not like someone there's going to make him look bad throwing. There's a Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe. I think he'll look real good compared to those guys. Talking about Cam Ward.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I agree with you guys. I agree with you, Pete. I like to see him throw. I want to see him on the Giants personally. I want him to be the number one pick either way, but Giants, it just looks right. They want him. The fans want him. Malik Neighbors wants him. It just makes a lot of sense.
I just think if he goes out there and throws, it puts more pressure on a situation like that happening.
Right. And I mean, these guys, Giants got to be desperate too, because they're going to get fired. So, trading up and stuff like that, they can make Tennessee an offer that looks, I mean, Abdul Carter's great. I support him being the number one pick in a vacuum, but like, to not trade out of the pick because you want to take Abdul Carter so much, not to trade down 2 spots, that to me seems a little, he's not that. He's not like, we can't even trade out of the number one pick because we love this guy so much. I mean, he's a Pro Bowler, but that's a lot.
I think I'm the most bullish in this room, I think, when it comes to Abdul Carter. And it seems as though the chat is pretty divided on Abdul Carter. There are people out there.
No, I like him. I just think you take a QB. If your franchise is in a bad spot, you take a QB.
No, Abdul Carter's going to he'll be Micah Parsons. I was just saying.
He's an 11 from Penn State. That's a pretty proven commodity when it comes to the next level.
But I'm just saying, to not trade out of the first spot because you want to take him so bad that you like the drop off from him to like Travis Hunter is so profound when you need everything. And Titans suck.
Yeah, but
Titans have nothing.
Who do you think is the most sure thing out of the group of 3 players? Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, and Cam Ward. Like, Cam Ward is a risky prospect. Travis Hunter is a risky prospect, I think, as well. Even though he plays on both sides of the ball potentially, I worry about that frame holding up. I really do. I'm worried about him. If he's not getting spammed the ball, can he have the same kind of impact? Because they spammed him the ball in Colorado. Abdul Carter seems like the safe bet. If my job, look, Tennessee is actually in a different situation than all those other teams that are in the mix. Andrew Berry signed the worst contract in professional sports history. He kind of needs a dub. New York, as Saquon is potentially going to the White House because he's a Super Bowl champion now, and they have egg on their face, which is very expensive egg now. Their job's on the line. New York, their jobs are on the line. This is a bad situation if you're picking up top the draft. Tennessee, not so much. Fresh start. I lay my foundation with a clean, safe start, a safe pick at number 1, and know that I have a year to figure out, okay, everyone acknowledges we need a quarterback. I'll save that for the next class.
Yeah, I'm not saying that to take Cam Ward. I'm just saying more picks when you're starting to lay the foundation is not a bad deal because you get more cracks to get your guys on the roster. But you're right. It's a great point that Tennessee, Cleveland, Giants, Tennessee, new GM, much better situation than what you're dealing with.
Longer runway, more job security. You can kick the quarterback can down the road.
Yeah,
I think if you're Tennessee and acknowledge, okay, we wanted to take the generational pass rusher. We didn't think that this was a great quarterback class, which top to bottom, it's not. Jackson Dart is being talked about as a top 10 pick. We saw the Florida game. I know you're not your worst moment, but geez. So I would say that you can the NFL and executive positions in the front office are almost as much about job preservation as they are about actually executing. And if you're Tennessee and you're trying to play the long game and ensure the longest possible time you have to fulfill your vision over there, I think you go Abdul Carter. And then you acknowledge, okay, well, the coach wasn't my guy. Quarterback's not my guy. Let me bring in my guys there because I took number 11 from Penn State, and that's a bona fide star. So that's another aspect of this too. It does take some courage. if Cam Ward's going to go number 1, it's going to be a courageous pick because of all the reasons that we've outlined. He's not a perfect prospect.
I've never seen the NFL get quarterbacks right. And I've been watching the NFL draft my whole life. You can go down the only pick that potentially you say is the right pick was Joe Burrow, number 1. And even then, they didn't make the playoffs this year. And there were other good guys that year, too. Jalen Hurts just won the Super Bowl. Justin Herbert, some people might take him over Burrow just because of the durability.
For a moment in time, people were touting Tua, too.
Right. I mean, Tua led the league in passing. He's a good player, too. He's a good quarterback draft. Jordan Love's good, too. So, yeah, that was probably the only time I'd say they got it right. Other than that, the 2 most can't-miss prospects ever were, in my life, Andrew Luck and Trevor Lawrence. I would say both of them disappointing. Luck for sure. Lawrence kind of heading that direction.
Well, Luck for sure in that he wrapped up his career early. I don't think I'm with you on the field. I don't think he actually fulfilled the promise of a can't miss at the position, but he was still very good.
He's good, but would you say he lived up to his potential? I wouldn't say he did. I certainly did.
I thought there was a legitimate chance
did
he
he
could
not
be the
win an
greatest
MVP
quarterback.
one year?
Andrew Luck, I don't think so.
No, and he didn't.
There was one year that were they not like the best team in the league? They had a bye. No, maybe I'm completely off here.
Yeah, he's a GM for the Stanford Cardinals, and it's a Cardinal, and it's people thought he'd be in the Hall of Fame by now. So that was a bad pick in retrospect. Not bad pick, but just disappointing for a can't miss. It missed. Trevor Lawrence missed. Potentially looks like it. Pat Mahomes got picked before Trubisky.
Caleb Williams was the last can't miss.
Right, and I think Jalen Daniels ended up being a better player.
Mm-hmm.
So you look at Lamar Jackson. Obviously, everybody missed there, and Josh Allen. I mean, not one quarterback was picked where they should have been except for Joe Burrow of the top guys. If you the top 10 quarterbacks in the league, Lamar Jackson was not picked where he should have been. Mahomes was not picked where he should have been. Josh Allen was not picked where he should have been. Herbert was not picked where he should have been. Jalen Hurts definitely was not picked where he should have been. I thought the Dolphins should have drafted him that year. That was my hot take. They should have drafted him and Tua. But I mean, what other quarterbacks are good? None of them were picked where they should have been. So to say a quarterback is safe or this is a bad quarterback, they don't know anything. They don't know anything. They don't know. They don't know. If you go back, history is even worse. Marino was picked late. Johnny Unitas was not picked. Joe Montana was a 3rd-round pick. Brady was a 6th-round pick. Favre was a 2nd-round pick. Rodgers was the green room, an embarrassment icon. Yeah. Peyton Manning was picked correctly. But really, if you just go down the line, the NFL never gets quarterback right. So to say the conventional wisdom on this and that makes sense, I've forgotten that. I mean, Bo Nix last year, people were clowning everybody for Bo Nix going where he went.
For the first couple of weeks,
he should have gotten 10 picks higher.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
Yeah, Caleb Williams was arguably 3rd best.
Yeah.
And he was the can't miss guy.
I wouldn't be surprised if Penix ends up being better. That was at least they got. And Penix, I thought the whole time was a top 10 pick.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that, and then when he got pushed up to the top 10, people were like, oh, how do you pick this guy top 10? He looks pretty good.
Yeah, I'm not finding
what's going on.
Not finding an MVP award for Andrew Luck outside of the Orange Bowl MVP, but comeback player of the year. And it should be noted that part of what of Andrew Luck's story is the fact that he got hurt. That shoulder injury was pretty debilitating. Shoulder injury for a guy that throws for a living is tough. A good player, certainly nailed the draft pick, just didn't fulfill the promise. But yeah, the can't miss guys I'm always worried about. Now, Cam Ward is not discussed as a can't miss guy. This guy is a little scary of a prospect because, look, there are individual games. If someone were to ask me, what's the best tape of Cam Ward? I'd say, well, take a look at the Cal game. Take a look at the Virginia Tech game. What's the worst tape of Cam Ward? I'd say take a look at the Cal game. Take a look at the Virginia Tech game. Right. And I think what you'd see is the strength is this guy can make a mistake and just keep it humming. And that's hard to define when someone just wants a highlight reel. What do you think was his overall best performance, his most complete performance? Was it Louisville? Because I thought he was off at Louisville. He missed several short throws that could have been housed. Like he's kind of, you kind of want to rip your hair out sometimes when you're watching the tape.
The Gators.
I was going to say the Gators. Yeah.
Actually, I'll tell you this: the first half of Iowa State.
Yeah, Iowa State, his Iowa State performance against a top 5 pass defense with limited weapons. I think that was. But keep in mind, he made a bad mistake against Florida too, and they kind of creep back in that game.
Yeah. I never saw him have a bad game, to be honest. Like I've heard Georgia Tech referred to as his worst film.
Look at the box score
from scouts. He had 348 yards. He was 64% passer, 3 touchdowns, 0 picks.
And it may not be known, he was carrying an injury in that game. An injury that the staff told him, hey, in terms of mobility, don't run. We need you to stay healthy. And so when you think back, that helps contextualize the Fletcher throw that he missed in the flats when you could have argued maybe he could have tucked it down and ran it. Cam Ward played through some stuff that the general public was not aware of.
Yeah, and look, we'll see with Tennessee, man. I mean, they got Will Levis. He sucks. I agree with you. They might as well stretch it out. But people say, wait for the next quarterback class. It's going to be great. I mean, I'm not – who in the next quarterback class gets you super excited? Lenore Sellers could be good. He definitely wasn't as good as Cam Ward this year.
Number 15 in Miami looks pretty good, right?
He might be the first pick.
It could be. According to some books, he's
Rick
in that mix.
Rick Spielman, I've said this before on the show, Rick Spielman, who just left he was a general manager for the Vikings. He picked Justin Jefferson, picked Dalvin Cook, had a bunch of really good picks actually. I think he picked Adrian Peterson too, I want to say, if he was there that long. He had a lot of good picks for the Vikings. But anyways, he goes to be a podcaster, talks about all these guys. He likes Cam Ward, but Carson Beck was actually his favorite quarterback this year until he got hurt. He thinks that Carson Beck will be the first pick next year. He actually now is with the New York Jets in their front office. They might need a quarterback next year. We'll see how that goes.
You got Big Nuss. Big Nuss.
I like.
Drew Aller, who I think is
Drew Aller didn't complete one pass to a receiver in a game.
Terribly overrated.
So, Klubnik is a very good college player. I think Klubnik's a stud in college. I don't see overwhelming physical tools. He's definitely not as talented as Cam Ward. So, if you look at the NFL draft,
I don't see Arch. I see Arch playing a couple of years.
Arch will play a couple of years.
Is Arch eligible next year?
Yeah, he is.
That's crazy.
But he'll stay.
He'll be a redshirt sophomore, so 3 years removed.
If you look at what succeeded in the pros in the last 5 years, in general, just overall, we talk about multi-sport athletes, right?
Yeah.
That is the Pat Mahomes. That's the Josh Allen. That's the Justin Herbert. That's the Joe Burrow. Those are all multi-sport guys. Cam Ward is a multi-sport guy. He was actually a basketball player first for most of his life, and he played baseball as well. He even threw the discus. We talked about it on Storm Sessions. Canes, check that out on the official Canes website, my interview with him. But multi-sport, he checks that box. What else have we learned about NFL drafts with quarterbacks? Experience matters. Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, they were the two most experienced quarterbacks in college football history because of the extra COVID year. I believe Cam is either right there, right behind them in terms of experience because he's had the same situation with the COVID year. So experience plays. He's got that too. He's got the multi-sport. He's got his highlights are just as good as anybody. So like we're talking about just grading the flashes and saying, what can he be? Which is, with Herbert, guys like Josh Allen, you grade their best plays and they look good. Lamar Jackson, he's got the best plays too. So what am I missing on Ward?
I got to tell you though, looking at the 2026 class, it is considerably deeper than this year's.
What do you got going in 26 besides Francis Mauigoa, number one?
No, well, just looking at the quarterbacks, you got your guy Nussmeier, Arch Manning, Drew Aller, Lenore Sellers, Carson Beck, Jackson Arnold, who I know some in this
Jackson
room,
Arnold
Cade
threw
Klubnik.
for like 10 yards this year.
I know, but Klubnik, I gave you 7 names that could be considered first round types. In this year, how many first round quarterbacks are we getting? 3?
Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward were significantly better this year than all those guys. And I love Nuss. Cam Ward and Shedeur on the field were a million times better than all those. Can you imagine like Drew Aller? If you put Cam Ward on Penn State, they would have blown out Ohio State.
Yeah.
I mean, give me a break. Like, who are we talking about with these guys? These guys kind of suck. I mean, Lenore Sellers is big. He has a good arm. He could be good.
He's a good player.
They just lost their last game to who'd they lose to? To Illinois.
Big Brett Bielema.
So, I mean, and that was with all their guys. I'm not Cam Ward was dominant every game. Shedeur Sanders with no offensive line was pretty much dominant his entire career. Carried his program. Aller is a big white guy. I see the appeal in that. The guy's production is not great.
That's why you like Nussmeier so much.
Nussmeier was actually a good player, but he threw a lot of picks.
Yeah, he's a little frustrating when you break down the tape.
He was not as good as Cam or Shedeur.
No.
Klubnik is a good player, but pop gun arm relative to NFL standards. Who are we even talking about? So who's left?
Klubnik is an interesting prospect. He's shown year-over-year improvement, and he's more comfortable in that offense now.
For college, he's going to be.
He's probably going to be preseason. He's going to be preseason ACC, right? First team over Carson.
Yeah, I would say so.
But do you see Cade Klubnik like rolling left and throwing darts like Cam Ward, Luke Nichols style to the corner of the end zone?
No, but I also don't see a lot of the quarterbacks in that class doing across the body throws to the far side of the field that are going to be returned for a pick 6.
I'm pretty sure he threw less picks than all those guys. Maybe not Cade.
I'm just saying that there's obviously infuriating aspects of Cam Ward's game, but you have to know that no one's going to forget about it quicker than the guy that actually made the mistake.
I think that's what you can say about him. He's the same player every game.
Mm-hmm.
He's the same player every game. You're going to live with some of the stuff he does, but you can also benefit from some of the stuff as well.
Look, we're Miami guys, and our agenda is very clear, but it's not cut and dry. It's a very difficult decision at number one for Tennessee. And I'm really interested to see where Cam Ward goes. If you are just interested in him succeeding, I think New York with the Giants neighbors playing in that big market, that can get Miami fans certainly a little bit more excited than seeing him throw passes to another former Kane and David Njoku. But I do think that Cleveland presents probably the best circumstance for him to be successful right away.
What's your stance on being a Cleveland fan again? Even though they're paying Deshaun Watson, but Cam Ward on the roster.
And look, the people that made the decision, I'm not letting them off the hook, despite Jimmy Haslam's proclivity to put it all on his daughter for some reason. It's going to be very confusing for me because I love Cam Ward. I'm an NFL free agent. I root for Baker. I love Baker, and I watch his games with the Bucs, and I feel like some kind of rooting interest there. It'll be interesting to see if he goes up there and gives Roger Goodell a hug and it's a Cleveland Browns jersey over there. It was a huge part of my life being a Browns fan. It hurt. I remember where I was. I was in Tampa watching the men play against USC in the NCAA tournament, and I saw the bottom line breaking news that the Browns had acquired Deshaun Watson, and my heart sank because I knew that was it for me. I could never support this football team as long as Deshaun Watson was there. It's different than any of the other positions. Dude, Deshaun Watson touches the ball every play. I can't disassociate the team's success or lack thereof from the quarterback. I can't do that either if Cam Ward's touching the ball every play. I love Cam Ward. He's one of my favorite players of all time. So if he's I'm going to be rooting for Cam Ward either way, wherever he goes. Safe to say. If he goes to Cleveland, that's going to tap back into something that was a huge piece of my personality. So I do reserve the right to see how this feels and potentially come back.
All right.
I'm just being real with you. And it wasn't like I wasn't virtue signaling. Those who know me know how real the disconnect was with me in that franchise. I'm not doing this for likes. It was genuinely because I was so off-put by the franchise. I'm not a Cleveland Browns fan anymore. I don't know if I can turn that off or keep it off if Cam Ward goes there. Just keeping it real.
Browns fan Mike is back from BSBN.
But potentially, if Cam Ward goes there, it's going to be hard to root against him. And like I said, if you're rooting for Cam, you're rooting for the team. I wouldn't consider myself. I would have never considered myself a Buccaneers fan. But then Baker goes over there, and I'm rooting for the Bucs. So.
I'll tell you what I'm a fan of. Grandma de Malanga at Islas Canarias in the Dayland Dining Pavilion. I was actually there today. Place was packed, rolling. It was like a weird time. It was like 10 o'clock, and it was still locked and loaded. The best Cuban food on planet Earth. Used to have to go all the way by FIU to get the best Cuban food in Miami. Many people did. I always tell the story of Anthony Bourdain, the late Anthony Bourdain, internationally renowned chef, driving all the way to Cuban Town just to get Islas Canarias. He's departed, but you don't have to go that far. You just have to go to Dayland Mall, right there by the University of Miami, by the train station, by everything, and get the absolute best Cuban food on the planet. 7 different types of croquetas. Mike is still full off that bistec empanizado. So
like an anaconda, every couple of months I have like that one bistec empanizado, and it stays in my system and sustains me so I can maintain this diet that I'm on. I just have one piece of protein.
Yeah, look at that. I mean, look at the shape this guy's. Look at the type of shirts he's wearing these days.
I knew you'd comment on the shirt.
Canarias.
I knew you'd comment on the shirt.
So that's what you get when you start eating the freshest, best Cuban food on planet Earth. Islas Canarias Express. Shout out to the whole team.
And shout out to Juan Manuel, back with the emojis again, the inefficient emojis.
He's going nuts on Steve Smith right now.
I mean, I ain't saying a damn word about Steve Smith, just like the Pouncies. I ain't saying a single solitary thing about Steve Smith. So let's move to the diamond real quick. Again, hard to judge this baseball team because of the competition. I do like the pitching. I'm hopeful. It seems like Cuvée came out. It started slow, but started to come on. The bats are starting to come alive a little bit, but again, hard to disassociate the level of competition that they're playing right now. But there are signs of encouragement going on in Mark Light Stadium, and I will say, shout out Mark Light Shakes, the cannoli shake. Probably my favorite specialty shake that they've ever had.
The cannoli
shake was outrageously good.
Special, yeah.
I
I posted it. I had to post it because when I saw it, it looked elite.
It was. I can say certifiably probably my favorite one of the specialty shakes I've ever had. We were there for maybe 3 innings. We saw the Hurricanes score 3 runs, and we downed a cannoli shake, and then we went to Sports Grill. That's a damn good Saturday.
I've never had the novelty shakes. What do they do when they put like the celery in and stuff? Like,
that was the famous one, the chicken wing one during the.
But like, what is it?
What?
Like,
What do you mean?
what's the shake? If
The shake for that chicken wing one. What was it? Canisius that we were playing when?
Yeah, it was someone from Buffalo.
Yeah, there was some blue cheese in it. There was some blue cheese. It was a
Like
vanilla base,
like some Frank's Red Hot.
Yeah,
sauce.
some
probably.
buffalo
People
sauce
like,
up
is it
top.
edible? Like,
I heard
Yeah,
it was delicious.
I had it.
so it's salty. There's no sweet.
College Mike
Oh, nice.
actually said he bathed in it, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's sweet because the base is a vanilla milkshake. And they add some blue cheese to it. They add some Frank's Red Hot, a chicken wing, and a celery stick.
Oh, all right, man. Well, listen,
You ever dip a French fry in a
Can
Frosty?
you have a milkshake? Is that allowed in your vegan?
well, no milk, right?
So you can't really have it.
So
right?
I don't have milk. It's not Mark Light. I mean, salt and straw. There's some very good options. Coconut milk is truly a versatile item. I had no idea, but coconut milk, you can do a lot with coconut milk. Also, a lot with cashews. So, yeah, salt and straw. You go salt and straw, you get all the ice cream needs.
I like that place.
Oh, unbelievable! They got the
Smells
vegan stuff.
amazing.
Oh, they're phenomenal.
Never been.
No sponsor. Just love.
Yeah,
the product.
Mike, you're more of a whip and dip guy, anyways.
I do like whip and dip. I haven't been there for a while.
Lagoon's been waiting for you the whole time.
I haven't ventured back since Johnny Lagoon and I had an awkward interaction that he still hasn't forgiven me for. Someone's asking, Scuba Steve, what's my order at Sports Grill? So they have these new bowls that I really like. The protein bowls are pretty good, but if you're asking for wings, now this is salty. And I do like a salty food. It may be too salty. So you may say light buffalo, but I like to get the special grill and I toss them in buffalo.
So Pete, we're getting a comment here from Ghost and Von Donaldson, which I wash my hands of, but he's comparing a UM journalist to one of the characters in Dune. I don't believe that is Timothy Chalamet is being compared to.
No, it's a Skarsgård, but there is no way that Pete has seen Dune.
Yeah.
No, I have no idea what's
Pete,
happening.
Google fat guy from Dune. See what comes up.
In real time.
So anyways, with the baseball team, I think the starting pitching looks good. Competition's huge, obviously, when it comes to any of this, just evaluating guys this early. I would say, though, with the pitching, it's a little easier to evaluate because
I
what's
don't want to take any personal shots.
I don't think, no.
Look, he called us amateur. He called us
what?
amateur. We held him accountable. Like, I don't want to take any personal shots.
I don't. You know what? I don't even see the resemblance, anyways.
High road.
where's that?
Gary can check with the sources.
So anyways, on the baseball team with the pitching, the starting pitching, what comes over the plate is what comes over the plate. So the fact that the competition's bad, obviously they might inflate the numbers or deflate the numbers, I guess you'd say. But, the fact is coming out 95 with movement. Nick Roberts upped his velocity. Walters looks fresh as a daisy. Hugus swing and miss stuff all day, MLB type prospect. So I'd say the rotation is for real. The bullpen is going to be deeper than last year. It's going to be more of a challenge, obviously, with the lineup depth and quality you're going to see at UF. So the numbers, when they have I think they all have 0.89, 0.95, 1.2 ERAs. So I don't see that maintaining, but I do think that's going to be stable. The hitting up and down already. You saw it against FAU.
Mm-hmm.
That's certainly going to be subject to the opposing team's pitcher. And when you talk about Florida, they got arms going 96, 97 out the pen, good starters. That's going to be a big challenge. If UM could hit decently well this weekend, it's going to be a great sign. If they just look like they did against FAU, it's going to be tough because the ACC's got arms like UF all the way down the line.
Yeah, but at least for a solitary moment, it feels like there's some momentum now behind JD and this staff, and we're rooting for them. We want them to figure it out. Baseball down here, like I said, Omaha feels like a birthright, and them finishing under 500 just simply cannot happen down here. Now they need to show progress. It's not going to be hard to show progress year over year, but is it going to be enough? Time will tell. And the only way to really gauge that is when the competition steps up.
And it was a blast, by the way. Forget the projection, the team. I think the team will make a region. Will make a regional. That's kind of my prediction. I'm hoping it comes true. I'm not convicted on that, but I do think they have.
I want to believe.
I think the pitching's come along. Hitting's going to make a difference. But the experience at the Light, man, this past weekend, the weather was unreal. It was
right.
just.
There's nothing like February ball at the Light. You see all these teams that are coming down from the Northeast, and they are reveling in it. You have a month-long homestand because the weather everywhere else is atrocious. It is like I always call it like a little slice of Americana. It's you don't know it until you experience it and you clap your hands over your head with the baseball players. There are really cool traditions at Mark Light, from the shakes to the freestyle clapping over your head to the ping of the bat. It's a great experience. It's cost effective if you're trying to take your family out there. Can't say enough about it. Really want the program to be good. Really want JD to turn this thing around. Want him to be the guy because he's a Cane through and through. That's cool. Bleed orange and green. But ultimately, it's going to get down to what have you done with this program? Can you get us back to the regionals? Can you get us back to Omaha? He was on the previous staff. As I mentioned last week, shorter leash. If you got promoted, you're not necessarily going to absolve yourself of your previous sins. You need to show that you're the solution quickly.
Well, you could see how it unfolds in person. Pick 5 plan, 5 games, your choice, one great deal. The Pick 5 plan lets you catch the best Canes baseball matchups on the schedule for just $50. Pick one of the 3 FSU games. You're going to want to see that. Jamie Arnold, maybe the best player in the country, certainly the best pitcher. 2 ACC matchups, those were all good. 2 non-conference games. You got UConn in the mix, which is a tournament team, all for an unbeatable price of $50. But don't wait. The deadline to join is March 22nd. Get your Pick 5 plan today at Miami Hurricanes Pick 5. That's MiamiHurricanes.com/pick and the number 5, or call 1-800-GO-CANES.
Ghostin and Vaughn Donaldson said no DJ volume is a plus. DJ volume does a really good job at the basketball games. And I think like maybe take that basketball game playlist and take it over to Hard Rock. Like I said, DJ volume, it's not hard. We're very much trapped at the turn of the century. You can just play all those turn of the century hip hop songs and we're good. But it's a big deal when Uptown Dale makes it out there to the game. It's a big deal when Peter Ariz is out there touching wood. Premium insider.
I was also touching wood for like the worst games of the year, so I don't know if that
makes
it a big deal.
You might only be touching wood because of how bad this season has gone.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but I saw you there on the sidelines. Eyewitness reports say that you were hanging next to some NFL All-Pros potentially, some big names that have been bandied about, some potential franchise wide receivers out there.
It was just good to see the stars out at the SCO.
Yeah, there were luminaries, and they were cutting it up with Peter Ariz out there because everyone knows this guy's a man about town. This guy is plugged in. Everybody wanted the lowdown when it came to Miami basketball, and they were going old bright eyes over there.
Bright eyes.
I'm just glad I didn't have to bring the binoculars out yesterday.
One of my favorite moments from yesterday was Sebastian, my friend Chee's son, wishing your dad a happy birthday while he sat in your usual seats and you were touching wood. It was your dad's birthday.
No, it wasn't yesterday. His birthday was not yesterday. It was the day before that, all right?
That was your
Shout
birthday
out to
game.
Ariz Law PA, man. The great sponsors of our basketball coverage.
That was your dad's birthday game.
No, it was not.
You betrayed him to touch wood.
No.
We were there wishing your dad
He's been touching
happy
wood
birthday.
a lot this year as well. So
I can't believe.
Oh, look, a Canes cat stunting on you, Pete. He's saying Pete needs to buy wood. They're expensive compared to a regular ticket, but if it's the only event you like and go to, well worth the price.
I would say for the women's game too, great value. Courtside
I was
seats.
touching wood with you.
Yeah,
that was a great experience.
That was a great game.
It's buzzer beater, pretty much. Jasmine took over down the stretch. Another big win this past Sunday. So
yeah, a must win. Look, it's hard to get in the ACC tournament in the women's game in this conference. Huge result in the conference too. NC State takes down Notre Dame, which was the number 1 team in the country. Everyone knows how good Notre Dame is. Notre Dame smoked Miami by 40. Haven't seen Miami decimated like that in quite some time on the basketball court in the women's game. There's a lot of room for encouragement, a lot of great classes here. I think Dan Redikovich made a good hire with Trish. We're building on something, but boy, am I going to miss the Cavender twins. They have been special players, and I can't help but think I get a little envy sometimes because when I watch how good Haley has become, and Haley has gotten really, really good. Hannah too. Hannah's probably improved more than Haley.
Yeah, she's playing more than she did before. That's for sure.
Yeah, but last year's team was really good, really talented. You see the players that left the program, and Z Spearman, Hollywood Lattimore over at Virginia, Jalea goes to Louisville, Shide Wilson goes to LSU. We're not talking about little run-of-the-mill programs here. We're talking about blue chip programs, blue blood programs in the women's game that we lost a lot of players to. If that team, which should have made the tournament and was probably them getting shut out, was a contributing factor to Katie Meyer hanging them up abruptly. If that team had the Cavenders, they could have made some serious noise. Back-to-back deep runs. I can't even imagine what that would have meant for this program. But then again, on the men's side, we had back-to-back deep runs, and look where we are right now. in the cellar.
Yeah, I mean, for people who know about the Cavender twins from social media, and you've been in this world for a while, I'm now becoming more of a follow. Interviewing all these women for the official Canes website, Storm Sessions.
Yeah, shout out to the Metro Rail boys there that are as passionate. They're always there. Like, what I love about these games are the passion in terms of people being locked in on the game. As good an experience that Miami has to offer.
Oh, and if you have daughters or little kids, being able to interact with the team, the best. But I'm saying for people who don't know and just know the social media stuff, these girls are actually good. I had no idea that Haley was getting 8 boards a game until I watch it. She's a better rebounder than anybody on the Canes men's team. She's like 5'5". How tall is she? 5'6"?
Yeah, she's really short and an outstanding rebounder. Both the Cavenders are really good rebounders and real great passers in terms of court vision for their size. Peter, I do want to bring it back to the men's game briefly. Look, there are going to be natural questions. Jay Lucas was the lead recruiter on the Boozer twins. The Boozers were between Miami and Duke. The coach that was recruiting him here in Miami, no longer there, probably didn't make a great impression as the vibes around Coach L weren't great fairly recently. Jay Lucas was the lead recruiter. I know you've addressed this before on Canes Insight, but we do have some new eyes here. What's the very latest? Is this a real possibility when it comes to the Boozer twins? Can they potentially decommit and flip?
I mean, look,
wait, Pete, before you even answer that, because we have another question that's related. I want you to answer them together. So Kyle is asking about any truth to the Columbus coach being an assistant for Jay. I saw Gary Furman report that earlier today.
That's what Kyle said?
No, I did see though. He was in one of his stories earlier today for this coach that has agreed to potentially agree to be the coach. He apparently is already getting a staff to agree. And the Columbus coach, Andrew Moran, was mentioned. So
Scoops
first
Furman.
I read about it was today, right?
Scoops Furman.
Yeah. So I think that's without a doubt a possibility.
What was it first reported by Peter Rees?
What that I posted a little something on the board last week about that potential of that happening in terms of Andrew Moran, the Columbus coach, joining the staff. But I think with the Boozers, they're obviously signed with Duke. We understand Duke's history. The dad played there and it is an all-time great. From there, I'm not going to start sitting here and speculating on, wow, I think we have a really good chance of this happening. Yeah, he was the lead recruiter. I think it's probably a better than 0% chance, but I'm going to let things play out before I start to I'm just going to say this. I do believe, and I said it, I think, in our group chat text earlier, I think this is going to become the biggest story in the sport outside of March Madness over the next couple months.
The pursuit of the Boozers,
or perceived pursuit. That's what I'll call it.
Look, it stands to reason. I understand why the need to be careful here, but it stands to reason. And quite honestly, it would be a deal breaker for me if I'm Dan Radakovich and the University of Miami negotiating with Jay Lucas if he isn't going to try to flip these kids. That would be a deal breaker.
I didn't say he's not going to try to, but I'm saying
it stands to reason.
Yeah.
Also, there's some awkwardness. I mean, Cher's his friend, and he just told these kids all the reasons. Shire, sorry. So, and he told all the kids the reasons they should go to Duke for a while. So it's hard to recruit kids, even telling them they should go to Duke for all. That's a tricky recruitment. We've seen the situation before in football. I remember when James Coley flipped from FSU, he mentioned how hard that was to kind of just recruit guys, even tell them to go to FSU, to go to Miami all of a sudden with nothing changing. It's a hard deal. So
I'll say this: Jeff Goodman, who was one of the best national reporters, college basketball wise, also didn't give us credit, but he has already speculated this the other night when the news broke, or whatever you want to call it, right? He was already speculating this on his show, so it's out there, and I think that, like I said, better than 0% chance is all I'll say right now.
Look, given the rumors surrounding their present high school coach, surrounding him and potentially going to the University of Miami, because there's a lot of smoke, there's a lot of message board conjecture and a lot of validity to some of these whispers. Hypothetically speaking, if you have the lead recruiter for the Boozer twins switching schools, going from the school that they committed to the school that finished runner-up, and further hypothetically, if their high school coach, their current high school coach, also joins the staff on the school with the lead recruiter on the school that finished runner-up, you can
Allegedly, this is all allegedly.
you could piece things together right now. And like I would say, if I'm making the hire, I say you bet your bottom dollar you're going to try to flip these kids. That's a huge appeal to me. And I know that there's a lot of influential C's that have been around this program for quite some time that would love to make that happen and keep the Columbus thing going down here. So yeah, it's going to be a storyline, and I think it's a very legitimate thing that Miami's going to try.
And bottom line, Miami came in second for this recruitment before, so that we're not talking about a situation that like Miami wasn't involved here in this recruitment and it would be out of nowhere. Like there was already a relationship there, obviously completely different staff, but there was already a comfort level with the program and this obviously the city of Miami that aspect of it, I think, is what makes it.
Oh, Pete, can you give us any other scoops? Any other idea of what this staff might look like?
Real quick, Pete. We got a question from Proud Cat that I want you to get in on it. He's asking, I don't have an issue with this guy being a first-time head coach. Duke coach Shire was a first-time head coach. He's doing fine. It was addressed to me, but you're the guy to ask, and I know you have thoughts on the staff as well. So what do you think about that?
Look, I'm optimistic about the hire. Am I sitting here saying this is going to work 100%? I don't think anyone can say that really about. There's very few hires you can say that with certainty about, but understanding, and I think Mike, you've heard a lot of the similar things. The infrastructure they plan to put around him in terms of like, again, you make this hire understanding he is a talent acquisition guy. If you're going to bring someone whose job is to acquire talent, you have to understand that there's got to be the resources behind that. So I think there's that commitment, number one, there. There's going to be a commitment from a staff standpoint, hiring a real GM, that this program does not have a GM right now. You have player personnel people, basketball ops guy, but you need a real GM, which is, I think, 100% going to happen, and then build out a staff. It won't be as big of that sort of staff as you see on the football side, but you are going to build a real front office sort of system and kind of implement what is going on at Duke. And Duke has been ahead of programs for years in this sort of stuff, but that's ideally what you'd like to bring here, and hasn't always worked. I think that's why people are a little bit on the fence about it, right? In terms of the fans, it has not always worked to say, let's go take the best assistant coach from Duke. We understand that. My thing continues to be with Lucas. I really do think he's an outlier in terms of the recruiting stuff. I think he's a unicorn in the fact that he was at these blue bloods, but he was plucked from each place for a reason. These schools were tired of recruiting against him. He's done it everywhere he's been.
A lot of great coaches that he's worked under.
So
there's so many great luminaries of the sport, can't be wrong.
Even back when he was playing.
Yeah, and the general surprise is, even from, I can even speak to this from a Miami standpoint, is his name has been long linked to that Texas job. A lot of people are surprised, well, why isn't he waiting it out another year? And let me just say, it is my understanding that Jay Lucas was very aggressive in trying to get to Miami. He wanted this opportunity the second that it popped up, and he was very proactive.
That's important. That's very important in this, man, because you got to have a guy like that who sees what could be done here, right? And let's be real, Jay Lucas was recruiting against Miami for the Boozers. He was keeping a close eye on what's been going on at Miami, and he knew what he was up against from an NIL standpoint and what they would have gotten if they decided to come to Miami. And he knew Miami was competitive in that battle. So let's really take a look at that situation, whether or not he lands them or not. He knows it's sort of ammo Miami's coming to the table. I keep going back to it. You don't land these recruiting classes. It hasn't worked out, but you don't land a top 10 class last year and then land really highly rated guys this year, and a Matthew Abel, in the big man that they got, who's Ahmed, who's no longer, with the team, without having a real NIL budget. Yeah. So
it is a feather in the cap for the University of Miami, for an assistant whose name has been bandied about as one of the more desirable lead assistants in the sport, a guy that was almost certain to be in the mix for other big jobs with huge programs, with big-time traditions behind them. It says a lot for him to be aggressive in pursuing this job, knowing what Miami is fully capable of. Thankfully, this is not even like football where you hearken back to decades ago. very real, recent proof of concept in the NIL age down here, making Miami matter in college basketball. Jay Lucas knows better than anybody because he was going on the trail head-to-head with them, as Pete acknowledged over there. And I think that this is a good uptick in vibes because we're pretty low. Astonishingly so, after back-to-back deep runs in the tournament. Vibes are not good. Players left the program, flourished in some cases elsewhere. For Jay Lucas to know that this is just merely a bump in the road and there is a very high ceiling, not just for him, but for this program, is refreshing. And like I said, a positive uptick in vibes.
Yeah, 36-year-old bringing the energy. And look, you're only going to get a guy like this if he works. We don't know if he's going to work. He's the first-time head coach. That's the risk you're taking. We're taking a risk here. High risk, high reward. But you're only going to get him on that first one. Meaning if you were to go to a smaller school and make it great, he's going to go straight to the top level, right? So the only way Miami's going to get a guy like this is now. And when you get a guy like this, you can keep him, right? He elevates the program to a level where it's going to be consistent year in, year out. All you got to do is just pay him, right? You don't have to convince him to come. He's right here. So I think that's the risk they're taking. We'll see if it works out. You don't know. But that's why I think they took a risk on a first-time head coach. Because if this guy's a good coach, this is your only chance to get this kind of guy. 36 years old, could potentially be there for the long haul. So excited to see how it works out.
And this is the last thing I'll say, just from having, been touching wood last night and sitting directly across from the Duke bench, essentially. I was keeping an eye on him. He was more animated than I had seen in like some of the mic'd up videos I watched. He was a little bit more down to earth, like not down to earth. That's not what I meant to say. More, just calm. He was into it, man. I don't know if it was he was hyped up that he was at his future home. He felt the energy in the SCO, one of the best atmospheres in college basketball. But I don't know if
Hopefully,
that's what it was,
soon.
but he seemed like a guy who was very involved in the coaching efforts on that bench, which, we see a lot of different coaching staffs come through different styles. Sometimes the head guy is the only one talking. Everyone else is just sitting quietly. Like Lucas seems very involved in what's going on there. We've heard the talk about the defensive side of the ball, but last possession of the game, Duke was up 38-37, and there was 20 seconds left in the game, and he's coaching. This is when they had the ball. This is when they're on offense. He was coaching them really, really hard. I mean, I felt that possession, I felt things I hadn't felt since the Final Four run.
Wow. And we're just a couple weeks removed from one of your favorite moments of your life. Beating Notre Dame?
Yeah, well, that was massive. That was when we were still in the hunt for the ACC tourney.
You sense the momentum shifting, and now look what's happened.
Yeah,
peak out the energy of what was going to happen. Last thing I'll say on the program, we said on the last show, 4 teams in the ACC have won 2 ACC championships in the last, since 2010, right? So 15 years. Duke, North Carolina, Virginia, and the University of Miami. So let's not sell this program short. With the right guy in charge, you could play with the big boys when it matters. Speaking of the big boys.
Look, the kids that you're recruiting, Miami's been a fixture in the ACC conversation. It's crazy to think that. But this is not, like I said, a bygone era of success. Those kids that are recruiting to Miami now, remember watching Kenny Kaji and Shane Larkin. Remember watching Miami beat.
They don't even. Because 15 years, or how many, 2012 years. So it's just, So if you say it says 2010, which is the time we're taking, these kids were what, 3?
Well, but that was 2012, 2013. That was 2013.
Right, so they were 6.
It's a damn shame that Sister Jean had such magic to her, because that was a Final Four team too. That was our friggin' Final Four.
Talent-wise, that was a
loaded team. That's the one that got away. I have a hard out at 1:00. So if you'd like, let's get into what the people actually came to hear. Not us crap talk Gary Furman, not L. Pete get the shine of being the most plugged in basketball insider in the market, but for the wrestler of the week.
I kind of had the segue queued up with the big boys, but
where the big boys play was WCW.
Well, in 1992, 93, the big boys were in when was Rick Rude's prime? Let's say 1990.
It's arguable because
Rick Rude, the long hair Rick Rude. That's the
long hair Rick Rude was one of the greatest intercontinental title programs. All right, here's my wrestler of the week.
Get it,
Ravishing Rick Rude. Ravishing Rick Rude is one of my wrestlers, one of my favorite wrestlers ever in terms of like true heat, being able to work a crowd and make somebody look good. We covered this a little bit with The Miz. Mr. Perfect was another guy, a guy that would sell like hell. Look, Mr. Perfect and Ravishing Rick Rude made the Ultimate Warrior a lot of money because the Ultimate Warrior was a stiff, no good in the ring at all. And Rick Rude made that guy look like $1 million because Rick Rude knew how to sell. Rick Rude knew how to draw heat. Rick Rude had a physique that you could maybe poke holes in terms of how natural it might have been. But Rick Rude did a lot of great work, not just with the WWF, but I think some of his best stuff was in WCW. He rose to WCW champion, ran a great program with Sting, Ricky Steamboat, went toe-to-toe with Vader, delivered stiff shots. People don't know this about Ravishing Rick Rude because of his gimmick. He was, a ladies' man, would always insult the men in the audience.
Sweat hogs.
Yeah, the sweat hogs in the audience would airbrush his opponents. It was so cool. Airbrushing his opponent's face on his tights. They try to get under their skin. But Ravishing Rick Rude was a legit tough guy. You don't have a tattoo on your forearm if you're not a legitimate tough guy.
Are you a legitimate tough guy?
No, but I think he had like a battleship. If you have a battleship, if you have a battleship like Popeye did that, like he is a legitimate tough guy. He earned Vader's respect because Vader notorious in the ring for being super stiff. Rick Rude ate all those shots. Rick Rude in real life knocked out the Ultimate Warrior with one punch, according to legend in the locker room, because the Ultimate Warrior was so bad in the ring. He had been warned time and time again. He cleaned that up in the ring. There was a certain day that Rick Rude got sick and tired of warning him, and he clocked him, knocked him out with one punch. Ravishing Rick Rude, also a man of principle, walked out on WWE after the Owen Hart thing. The only man in professional wrestling history, I think, to show up on wrestling programming for competing companies on the very same day.
And he would have been in DX because he was in the predecessor to DX at that time.
He did great with DX. It's a shame the Owen Hart thing happened and the contract thing happened. He went to WCW on the same day there was an episode of Raw that was pre-taped. Rick Rude was awesome in DX. He was a foundational piece. He was like kind of like their bodyguard.
The Click at the time.
Yeah. Well, do you know how like that whole mutual admiration between Shawn and Hunter and Rick Rude started? Rick Rude hated the Click, and he would call them out on all their BS, and he would threaten them, and he kind of was one of the few people that can rein that era of Shawn Michaels in. So they brought him into DX to kind of like make sure that they wouldn't get too crazy. But the Owen Hart thing happens, and he goes to WCW, and he shows up on Monday Nitro and Monday Night Raw on the same day. No one could sell an atomic bomb the way Ravishing Rick Rude would. I implore you to check out YouTube and social media and just search Rick Rude Atomic Bomb. It's a highlight reel. It'll make you laugh out loud. Rick Rude, gone too soon, tragically passed away. Hate that he's gone because this guy would still have plenty to give the game, I think, in terms of being on the mic, being believable. He'd probably look like he did back in the 1990s. This guy was just a physique like no one else. Legit tough. Commanded the locker room. Nobody crossed him. If you earned Vader's respect, you're legit. Ravishing Rick Rude, one of the greatest intercontinental champions of all time, ran great programs in multiple companies. Huge fan for life, Ravishing Rick Rude.
I got to correct this before the Sparks get on this. I think he left before Owen Hart because he left in 97. Owen Hart died in 99.
Okay.
So I think there's a different reason why he left.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. I do know that he had like a huge problem with how WWF handled the Owen Hart thing. And it was in interviews, he deemed it a contributing factor as to why he left.
Yeah, I mean, it was bad deal. But this
look, the anchor tattoo on the arm, on the outside of the arm, like that's Popeye stuff. That is old sailor. That is, if you see somebody with that kind of tattoo and that mustache,
non-ironic mustache,
you turn the other way.
That's not an ironic hipster stash. That's
no,
a real stash.
If you spill your beer over there, you would look them dead in the eye. You say, "I'm sincerely sorry. I'm going to leave now."
So the Rick Rude, I think of the thrusting, this move right here, which I do coming back from the gym sometimes if I get home early enough. And then my kids got in trouble for doing it in school, but they said it was the Big E dance because Big E of the New Day has taken to doing that dance. So they did the Big E dance at school and were in trouble for some reason. But Rick Rude is the actual originator of that hip thrust dance.
Yeah, I mean, he made Ultimate Warrior look good. He made Ultimate Warrior into a world heavyweight champion because of how well he handled his program. One of the top intercontinental title rivalries of all time, I think. Great contrast in personalities. A super over baby face with the creme de la creme in terms of annoying type of heel that worked in that era. Great wrestler too. Great promo guy. No real weakness in his game. It's a shame that he got hurt, had a devastating injury that ended his career, but as he showed with DX and later in the NWO, had plenty to give on the microphone. As skilled and complete a wrestler as that era delivered, and it's a damn shame that in the WWF he never ascended to world title status because he had that going for him.
Yeah, good on the mic too. Wes Sutton saying, grown, educated men discussing this wrestling crap, shaking my head. Wes, we love you, but this is the world we live in, my friend. Go look around.
Everything is wrestling now.
The most famous actor, entertainer, The Rock, WWE Hall of Famer. Bad Bunny, future WWE Hall of Famer, the biggest selling music artist. He wrestled a couple years ago, multiple times.
The most powerful man on the planet
is a WWE Hall of Famer, and as his one of his cabinet members is also a future Hall of Famer. So this is the world we live in, my friend. People used to criticize me when I was a kid that what I was watching wasn't important. Now it's taking over the world, man. So, get with the times.
Everything is wrestling. You can translate the lessons that you've learned from watching wrestling into every key factor of life, as I try to explain to Pete every week. Oh, did you bring your wrestler of the week?
I did.
You did?
Let's go.
Oh, I actually did.
Let's go. Pete's wrestler of the week. Let's go.
I had Cameron, North Carolina on my mind with the Duke game. So I'm going to go with one of the most decorated tag teams of all time, the Hardy Boys. And
Let's
same
go.
Pop last night with that return to WWE.
Let's go.
NXT, baby. They still got the fans. Best tag team ever.
Wow.
Timely.
What's your favorite Hardy Boys match?
Yeah, listen. All I got to say is.
Wow.
Pete.
Wow.
Pete.
Man.
Well done. You understood the assignment, my man.
Remember when we criticized Pete and Jess for not being ready? Now he's coming up with graphics that we've never seen before. He's doing timely wrestlers of the week.
He's doing the Jeff Hardy fingers.
It tied into both the Miami Hurricanes basketball and also the current landscape.
Oh, Pete.
What a drop. Pete is cooking. I agree.
Wow.
Look at that.
How do you follow that, D?
I can't, man. Unbelievable. There it is.
Genuinely surprised. And you worked out a promo. That was great.
Yeah, he did in the voice too. The people are loving it. Great job, Pete.
It's as surprised as I've ever been on this show.
Way to go. Way to go.
I didn't want to tell you guys. I had
it in the back pocket. After breaking the story of the year.
Great
After breaking
job,
the story of the
man.
year, man. Pete's on a heater right now, man. He might not leave the wood.
Oh, Pete.
So I'm gonna go with not North Carolina. I'm shifting to Tennessee. The what do they call it? The
Volunteer state?
No, what's their the Rocky Top. Rocky Top. So from Knoxville, Tennessee, which is actually the mayor of Knoxville, Tennessee, is actually another WWE Hall of Famer.
Everything is wrestling.
Kane.
the guy I was sitting next to at the game last night's from Knoxville.
Well, his mayor is Kane, and the best athlete to come from that town is not T. Higgins, but in fact, the great Bianca Belair. Talk about living the gimmick. Her nickname is the EST, which means, the best at everything, right? You put EST at the end, and I think it suits her. First of all, her name is actually Bianca Belair. I think they add an E to make it just a copyright, but her name's actually Bianca Belair. So her name is a gimmick. Looks the best, the strongest. She does any kind of flip you want to do. She was a Tennessee All-American in track. She's extremely good in the ring. She's very professional. Her athletic ability and willingness to work, the fact that she's been working for like 7 years straight now, I think her in-ring is peaking. Did you see the match on Monday? Was that on one of your 5 TVs?
I did not watch the tag title match. They dropped the straps, right?
Let me tell you this match. So it was, to me, the definition of
I heard the crowd was hot for it.
It to me is a definition of a well-worked match because the crowd was okay at the beginning, but by the end they were rabid. This is awesome chance, and not like just to do it. It was true appreciation. The near falls were absolutely insane. Bianca carrying it. She always had the look. She always had the talent. But, the timing and the wrestling stuff took a while because she never wrestled. She never watched wrestling. She was a total noob. Now that she's worked so many shows, so many house shows, so many international tours, so many main events, her timing is outstanding. I would say she is hands down. I mean, I love Charlotte. Charlotte's my favorite. I haven't seen Sasha Banks wrestle on Mercedes, but she was always great. But I got to say right now, the best women's wrestler in the world, hands down, has got to be Bianca. I don't see any hole in her game. Look at her. She looks amazing. She's got the braid. My daughter loves her. Just a superstar.
Top 5 women's match of all time in terms of what it delivered and also what it meant. The main event, night 1, WrestleMania.
We were there.
The first WrestleMania with people back after lockdown. Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair. Main eventing night 1. A tremendous match that delivered. I'm not the biggest Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné guy, but she made Bianca Belair look like $1 million, and then she promptly made it about herself on the outside, which I still kind of resent. But Bianca Belair is as talented as an individual as ever come across the women's ranks. And we've mentioned her name before. We've invoked her, a testament to the scouting department over at WWE. They don't just scout the indies. They look at body types. They look at resumes. They look at star power. Bianca Belair clearly had that in college, and it projected, because everything is wrestling, it projected at the largest stage, and she's been a bona fide superstar. Can't wait to see where this Jade program goes. It's been kind of, AEW gets a lot of crap for how they launch wrestlers that were in the WWE. Well charted. Miro didn't work out. Aleister Black didn't work out. Andrade can't seem to work anywhere. But I kind of feel like WWE, and I know there's an injury situation, kind of fumbled it with Jade.
Injury.
Yeah, but even beforehand, I just wasn't crazy about how they're using Jade. And I know she's super green. I'm hoping that Bianca, it's very clear that they're working towards some major payoff there with Bianca and Jade, which is a big box office match. But WWE is not without criticism on how they've handled some of these superstars that have come back. Look at Andrade, case study. He just may never work here in the United States.
Yeah, it's hard to put it all together, even when you put the pieces fit on paper. Bianca's one where on paper it makes sense, and then with just hard work, and I think she reminds me of John Cena in terms of just having between the ears.
She should never turn heel.
She can't. I mean, she could do it if she wanted to. I think she's good enough. Like Cena was good enough too.
Yeah.
But I don't see it. Like I said, my daughter loves her. Like she's very good with that kind of crowd.
That is a great comp, because not just from like star quality and inability to, like, it can't be believable to turn this person heel. One thing that I respect a lot about Bianca Belair is talking to some people at WWE in terms of charitable appearances. She's right up there with John Cena. Says yes to everything that the company asks her to do. Oh, so good with her time, so gracious with charitable efforts, just like a total pro across the board.
Yeah, great with media too. Shout out to Bianca, man. You mentioned the Sasha main event. I was there the next year when she fought Becky Lynch. I thought that was even better.
Yeah,
that one was even better. The crowd went insane that was another one where the crowd started off. They were they had just seen I forgot what match it was. Maybe it was a Jackass match. There was something that heated them up.
Yeah,
and then they were dead at the beginning. By the end, they were nuclear. That to me is work. When the crowd's okay at the beginning and they're nuclear at the end, that to me is what you do.
Yeah, I think fair to say that she's got like 2 top 10 women's wrestling matches in history with someone that was kind of new to the sport, didn't have that base, learned it on the fly after being approached by WWE, a tremendous star. And there's going to be a dream match off in the future, Rhea, Bianca. We got to see them two get it in the ring. I got a couple minutes left here. My song of the week, every year I take a huge group over to a Florida Panthers matinee game. This year, it's Saturday. The Kitty Caravan is going to Sunrise Hockeytown, USA for Ryan Lomberg's return as the Calgary Flames visit the Florida Panthers.
Waiting for this one.
T's and P's over to Matthew Tkachuk, a great American. Cool to see a Florida Panther doing the late night circuit. Never thought we'd see the day, but I love this Kitty Caravan. It's really turned a lot of people on in my friend group to hockey. It's a great event. We have 30 plus people going this year. So my song of the week is Sweetness by Jimmy Eat World, a former goal song of the Florida Panthers. I was really sad to see it go. I know that they went on to win a world championship, a Stanley Cup, after removing this song. So I don't think we'll ever see Jimmy Eat World back again. But this song was great. It means a lot to hockey fans too, because it was in the NHL 2003 soundtrack. Great song, great band. I saw them live, and they actually lamented the Florida Panthers openly. Like, they were talking about it. They were pissed off that the Florida Panthers took away this goal song. But there was like some really crude ranking that ranked it the lowest in the NHL. Jimmy Eat World, a great band, by the way. A lot of great hits. An emo night fixture, even though that's not really what they do. Bangers like Pain, Bleed American, The Middle. Jimmy Eat World has stood the test of time, still out there doing it, still releasing good music. I really love this
They
band.
say that it just take, that's them, right?
Yep, in the middle. Yep.
I got to do some homework on that. And shout out to Jimmy Eat World. By the way, if you want to get some of these songs, expand your horizons a little bit, me and Mike's picks plus my pregame pod or preseason pod picks on the Canes Insight playlist. You can get on Apple Music, you can get on Spotify. Just look for Canes Insight and check it out.
I was listening to that playlist today.
It's pretty good. I
during
like
my
it.
morning workout. Yeah,
it's abrupt. You got to be ready for some turns.
Yeah.
But,
well, speaking of a turn, I think a turn's coming with your pick this week because I'm really. Are you trying to tell me something? What's going on with this song?
This is just a special. This is my type of music. You know, I'm a big Memphis soul guy. That is something I go to time and time again with the preseason pods. It's just my favorite type of music. It is soul. It's got a little kind of country flavor. It's got some rawness to it. It is Memphis. It's where all the roads meet. It's where the river ends. That's the name of the game. Memphis soul. It's been the big backbone of Wu-Tang and some other hip hop artists that I enjoy sampling these kind of songs. There's two real big studios in Memphis back in the day, Stax Records, High Records, both incredible. High more like Al Green, that kind of thing. Stax more your Otis Redding. Stax also the home of David Porter, which is this song right here. The Masquerade is Over. So David Porter, real quick, this was Isaac Hayes' songwriting companion. He's in the Songwriters Hall of Fame. He's been part of about 400 million records to his credit. I believe he was voted one of the top 100 songwriters of all time. Him and Isaac Hayes, this is his own words, we're trying to be like Hal David and Burt Bacharach, with David Porter being the Hal David, more of a song, the lyrics, Isaac Hayes more of the composer, the Bacharach. That's why Hayes covered so many Bacharach songs in his career. So this one right here was Porter's rare like effort under his own umbrella. He didn't really put out a lot of stuff on his own. This is probably, I would say, the most sampled song in one of the most sampled songs in hip hop, especially talking about like great songs. I'm pulling up some of the samples now.
Yeah.
But
I noticed that when I listened to it this morning, I'm like, I was surprised I'd never heard it, but there were a lot of things that brought me back to hip hop. There were a lot of portions of this song that I recognized.
Cut them in different parts, right? So you talk about
song kind of takes a lot of twists and turns.
A lot of turns. It's like progressive soul. It's a long song. I think that whole album is kind of like a concept.
I always like that kind of ambition when it comes to music, that this could be 3 different songs. That's why I like, Channel Orange by Frank Ocean so much. There's within a song, there's 3 songs.
And now there's 100 songs out of it. So you talk about Who Shot Ya, Biggie. That's one of the interludes. That's this song, Who Shot Ya. Duel of the Iron Mike, which is a whole nother part of the song. A Wu-Tang classic, Jizza Liquid Swords. Shots Fired, Megan Thee Stallion, which came out recently, one of her diss songs. That's like on the Who Shot Ya part. You got Rick Ross out there. Pete, you know the song Warm Words in a Cold World with Wale and Future?
No, that's new?
2021. Check it out. That samples this song. It's Over by Ghostface. Lesson Learned by Wu-Tang. A lot of Wu-Tang samples. Mary J. Blige sampled this one. 112 sampled this one. A ton.
What's it called? Sorry.
Oh, the Rick Ross one?
I love 112.
I've never heard this one
and
either.
Every time I hear a 112 song, Diddy can't get out of the way, and it's kind of ruining it for me.
You got to get over that, man. You lost the Browns. You're going to lose a lot of good music that way.
The Diddy thing is kind of hardcore.
Listen, I'm not inviting the guy to my house.
Can you give me the name of the song, please?
Warm Words in a Cold World.
Did you see his attorney say, I can't do this anymore?
Was his?
I have it in my library, but I don't remember.
Was his attorney Takapino?
His attorney was Osama bin Laden's attorney.
Oh, really?
And he was like, this Diddy thing is too crazy for me.
Well, I know Joe Takapino, he's a Canes Insight member, actually, and a big Canes fan. He represented like Jay-Z and all this stuff. And he said he couldn't represent Diddy because there's some beef there or something. I don't know.
I don't think people can represent Diddy because his standing counsel was like, this is hardcore.
Well, here we go. Random question. Appreciate you, aka Coral. D-Money, I know your son plays baseball now. What sports do you plan on having him play when he gets older? I mean, we're going to Grapeland right now at 8. Actually, Fern Isle at 8. So shout out to the Miami Beach Bulldogs, 4-2 on the year. First year at the Grapeland League. I mean, he likes baseball. He'll keep playing. He's playing center field. So we'll see when the athleticism gap starts to creep in at that position, but so far so good. I'd let him play football if he wants. I'm not really worried about his brain. He's got enough hair on his head. He could probably withstand the blows. So
it's a great core discipline for highlight players too, by the way.
Did I tell you about Cuvée?
Yeah, Cuvée. Yeah,
Cuvée. Both his parents highlight blood.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna have a big season this week, I think, or a big series this week against the Gators. Yeah. I feel it.
Well, thank you for turning me on to this song.
Yes. Oh yeah. Listen, anything Stacks, anything High Records, Mike. You could just go down the line. Those two, Memphis Soul. Memphis is really, to me, the best city when it comes to music, between the soul, between, of course, the king of rock and rolls from there. Johnny Cash had his big years there as well. Jerry Lee Lewis had some big years in Memphis. Memphis is the spot. Now, 3-6 Mafia, more recent years.
So if I want good music, go to Memphis. If I want orange slides, where do I go?
Oh, they get an extra spot because of you. Miami Hurricane Team Store, MiamiHTS.com, promo code Insight20. Get those orange slides. Get the Canes baseball gear. Kids 30% off. Basketball gear is going crazy. I know you're back on the bandwagon because of this Jay Lucas news. MiamiHTS.com and the team store in the flesh across from the there is 30% off basketball gear. Jay Lucas, celebrate. Get back on the bandwagon. Promo code Insight20, 20% off your first item. Nowhere else to go. Miami Hurricane Team Store. Nowhere else to go for your Canes news. You got basketball breaking news. You got Ravishing Rick Rude talk. We're all over the football.
Subscribe to this YouTube page right now, because Pete's only going to keep breaking news. And now that he's a certified member of Team Extreme, he's going to be with us every week on the Wrestler of the Week segment, no doubt.
Smoking that Gary Furman pack, boy.
Go Canes.
Go Canes. El Pete.